And of course, we continue to unpack the news from the ANC and Northwest Elective Conference. And to do that, we're joined by political analyst Professor Andre Duvenage from the Northwest University. I mean, Prof, many people would look at what's happening in the Northwest and think it's the stuff of movies. But this is the reality of the ANC, and particularly in the Northwest, where the elective conference there has been postponed more than 3 times. Are you surprised by the court interdict that was granted last night, or is this something one would have expected?
Good morning. No, it was not really expected in a direct way, but we know there were problems with the continuation of the conference. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. There were serious conversations about the continuation, so the conference was at question. But I think the court decision is a positive one. It cleared the matter, and now the conference can continue. And I listened to the previous interview. It is quite clear that the forces are building up. I'm still with my initial assessment that the 2 strongest candidates for chairperson is going to be Nonu Moloi and Bushi Mape. And I agree with the previous commentator, the guy from the SACP, that Supra Mohamupelu is probably not the stronger candidate in this case. I think he is lower down the line. And if he would like to survive, I understand he needs to be nominated from the floor. And he may create alliances with some of the women candidates, Khosu, Mosonegi, and so on. So I think it is a very dynamic process playing itself out. I am listening to the scenario that the conference may collapse. It is a possibility that the conference can collapse. But I think at this point in time, I will go with the scenario that the election took place and there will be an outcome. I think the ANC in the province and the ANC in the bigger environment nationally cannot give more time. They need finality about the conference. We need to get the house in Northwest in order. So it's critical to create some outcome of a sort.
And then what about the members of the IPC, which obviously their term came to an end about 3 years ago? They were initially meant to be in the power for about 9 months after they were put into administration. What of their participation in the conference should it get underway? Do they just sit on the sidelines and watch proceedings, or is there anything more in terms of participating that they can do?
Yeah, politics is sometimes about influence. You can create influence without directly participating, like, for example, a president like either Zuma or Mbeki attending conferences of the ANC. They exercise influence, but the IPC cannot be participating in a direct way. I think that was the right decision of the court in Mayakeng. Their term has come to an end. Their job, in fact, was only to facilitate a transition towards an elective process, and they were never officially part of that electoral process. The question now is, how will this influence the outcome of decisions? And I think this may be to the advantage of a person like Nonu Moloi, and maybe a bit to the disadvantage of a person like Bushi Mape. But I think at this point in time, it is still open. But what is critically important is that the conference process and protocol need to be followed in detail, so there couldn't be any questions about the possible outcome of the conference. We need an elective leader in the ANC in the province after this conference.
Speaking about the outcome, Prof, which outcome would suit President Cyril Ramaphosa the most as we approach the national conference in December? Who would have to take that chairperson seat so that we can see support rallying up for Ramaphosa?
My understanding is that the 2 strongest candidates, Bushi Mape, Nonu Moloi, is aligned to the Ramaphosa group. Supra Mohamupelu is definitely aligned to the so-called RET group, and I pick up rumors, and it's only rumors, that some of the lady candidates may also be aligned to the RET group. But I honestly think that this is highly likely to be a Ramaphosa win. I think any of the two candidates, maybe Bushi Mape is a bit closer to President Ramaphosa. My take on Nono Malloy is that he is more directly acting to the acting Secretary General of the ANC, Paul Mashatile, and Didi Mabuza is also involved in that context. So I think both of these candidates will be to the advantage of Ramaphosa, and this will contribute to his support towards the National Elective Conference.
Mm-hmm. So we've entertained the scenario of the conference actually taking place this afternoon. It's set to be opened by Deputy President David Mabuza. If it doesn't happen, because I did mention earlier on that it's more than 3 times that this elective conference has been postponed. What does that mean for the provincial wing of the ANC? That total collapse that everyone keeps talking about, Prof. If it doesn't happen, is there a future for the party in the Northwest?
Well, what is clear to me is that the ANC on a national level is an organization in crisis. It cannot manage its own affairs. It cannot even provide elective processes, elect leaders in some way. So it's really a big challenge. And I think it is definitely a scenario that the organization can fall apart. And this is a big test for the ANC as an organization here in Northwest to get through the elective process, to get elective leaders. And according to my assessment, it is going to be difficult, but it is highly likely. I think this conference, despite many disputes, is relatively well organized. I think the ANC did a lot of work in terms of getting the branches and the structures ready. So hopefully it worked this time. If it's not going to work, I believe it will be part of a bigger process with as end scenario the ANC as organization falling apart. I can mention that the end of this year and the elective conference is going to be a huge test for the ANC as an organization, for the leadership of Cyril Ramaphosa, and to me, he is the front runner at this point. But many things can change in a short space of time. And what is concerning to me is that the stability in the country is not what it should be. The country is becoming more and more unstable. And I'm reading political forces, even from within the ANC, into the process of instability. So there's a huge process ahead of us, and it can still take any way, but it will be a good start if we can finalize the elective conference and that we have leaders that can support the process of electing new leadership towards the end of the year.
Professor, thank you very much for those insights. That is a political analyst, Professor Andre Duvenage, joining us to talk about the developments in the Northwest, talking about the instability that already exists in the country. And at a provincial level, it's quite dire, the factionalism within the Northwest and the inability for delegates to get together and do something in unity.